Hey everyone, Miss Fisher here, and today we're going to be reading Cracking the Wall: The Struggles of the Little Rock Nine by Eileen Lucas. Let's get started. A car drove slowly down a quiet street in Little Rock, Arkansas. When the driver saw the house he was looking for, he slowed down even more. It was the home of Elsie and Daisy Bates. They owned an African American newspaper in the city. Suddenly, someone inside the car threw a rock. It crashed through the front window of the Bates home. The sound of shattering glass was followed by dogs barking and babies crying, and by the sound of the men in the car laughing as they sped away. Inside the house, no one was laughing. The rock had almost hit Daisy Bates as she sat on the couch. She looked at the glass on the floor. She knew that the people who threw the rock wanted to scare her. They wanted her to stop helping the black students who would be going to Central High. But she was not scared. She was going to help those students and end segregation, laws that kept blacks and whites apart. Central High was huge. It sat on a whole city block all by itself. It had 5 floors of classrooms and more than 2,000 students. Now 9 of them would be black. One of them was Ernest Green. This would be his last year of high school. He wanted to graduate from Central and go to college. Six of the other students were in the 11th grade. Minnie Jean Brown was lots of fun. She liked to make people laugh. She also liked to sing. Terrence Roberts was cheerful and smart. He could always think of things to say to make people smile. Elizabeth Eckford liked to sew. While waiting for school to start, she made a new dress to wear. Thelma Muttershed was small and thin and had a weak heart, but she had a strong mind. Gloria Ray spoke quietly of things that were important to her. Melba Patilio was pretty and did well at lots of things. She knew that there were 5 floors of opportunities waiting at Central. Jefferson Thomas and Carlotta Walls were in the 10th grade. Jeff had been one of the fastest runners at his old school. Carlotta was on the student council. All 9 students were well behaved and hardworking. They were all excited about going to Central High. They knew that they would not be allowed to join the school's teams and clubs. Minnie Jean could not sing in the Glee Club. Jeff could not join the track team. Ernest could not play his sax in the band. The black students could only go to class. But even that will be something, Ernest encouraged the others. Many white Southerners did not want to see an end to segregation. They did not want to see black children in school with white children. Some of them went to talk to Orville Faubus, the governor of Arkansas, about it. On Labor Day, Governor Faubus spoke on radio and TV. He said that soldiers were standing outside Central High. He also said that the black students should not go to Central High. "He's stirring up trouble," said Melba's grandmother. Melba's grandmother was right. The next morning, a crowd of people gathered at Central High. Soldiers with helmets and guns stood silently around the building. They looked like they were ready for war. Would there be a battle at Central High? Only white students went to Central that day. The black students stayed home. They did not want trouble, but they did want an education, and Central High was supposed to be their school too. Late that night, Mrs. Bates called all the students except for Elizabeth. Her family did not have a phone. Mrs. Bates would try to reach her the next day. She told the others to meet in the morning a few blocks from Central. Then they would walk to school together. On Wednesday morning, 7 of the 9 students met as planned. 2 ministers walked in front of them. One was white, one was black. 2 more walked behind. As the group drew near the school, they saw the crowd of people. The faces that glared at them were full of anger and hate. People shouted at them and called them names, but the students kept on walking. When the students reached the soldiers, they were told to go home. They were told that they could not go into the school. Sadly, they turned around and left. Melba Pattilio had not even made it to the meeting place. She and her mother had been chased away by angry white men, and they had to return home. Things were even worse for Elizabeth Eckerford. She never got the message about where to meet the others. After praying with her family, she rode a bus to the school by herself. When she got off the bus, all she could see was the angry crowd. Then she saw the soldiers standing by the school. She thought they would protect her. As Elizabeth walked towards them, someone squirted ink on her dress. A woman screamed in her face. Elizabeth tried to ignore the angry voices. She tried not to show how frightened she was. Finally, she reached the soldiers. Instead of letting her pass, they blocked her way. They pointed guns at her. They were not on her side. Behind her sunglasses, Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. She turned to walk away. People in the crowd pressed closer. Someone shouted, "Get her." Elizabeth saw a bus stop down the street. She made it there and sat down on a bench. A kind man sat next to her. "Don't let them see you cry," he whispered. When the bus came, a woman stepped forward to help. She rode with Elizabeth to where her mother worked. For 3 weeks, the soldiers and the angry crowd kept the black students out of Central High. The students had to do their schoolwork at Daisy Bates' house. It would have been easy for them to quit and go back to their old schools, but they knew that what they were doing was right. Then one day, the soldiers left. "What will happen next?" asked Elizabeth. "Get ready for school," said Mrs. Bates. As usual, a crowd of people waited by the front doors of Central High. Policemen directed the black students to a side door where the crowd could not see them. Inside, people helped the students find their classrooms. Thelma did not feel well. Someone took her to the office, but she did not want to go home. She had waited too long to get in. "I'm not giving up now," she said. When the crowd found out that the black students were inside, they grew very angry. They beat up some reporters who were outside. The students could hear the shouts as they sat in their classrooms. The police chief was afraid that more people would be hurt. He asked the black students to leave. In a garage under the school, they got into police cars. "Get down and stay down," the chief told the students. "Don't stop for anything," he told the drivers. The cars sped away. For a few hours, the black students had been at Central High, but they had not been allowed to stay. News programs around the country talked about what was happening in Little Rock. Many Americans were angry about it. They sent letters to the students inviting them to come to school in their towns. The President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, was angry too. No crowd could keep American children out of school, he said. He sent a new group of soldiers to Little Rock. Their job would be to let the black students into Central High. The next day, the United States Army arrived in Little Rock. On Wednesday morning, soldiers knocked on Mrs. Bates' front door. "We're ready for the students," they said. That day, the 9 students rode to school in an army car. There were soldiers and helicopters overhead. There were soldiers everywhere. They marched with Ernest and Elizabeth and the others up the front steps of the school. Minnie Jean said it made her feel like an American. Ernest said it gave him a big feeling. The Little Rock 9 walked right through the front doors of Central High. Melba later said, at that moment, the whole nation took one giant step forward. The end. All right, everyone, that was Cracking the Wall, The Struggles of the Little Rock 9. Now, the author does have a little afterword in the back, and it shows a picture of the students. The afterword says, "For a while, soldiers went with the Little Rock 9 to all their classes. Most of the students were either nice to them or didn't pay much attention to them. But there were a few who were still angry that black students were there, and they were very mean. After a few months, most of the soldiers left, and things got even worse. The troublemakers called the black students names, they dumped food on them at lunchtime, they threw pencils at them, they kicked them and knocked their books down. Finally, graduation day came. Ernest Breen became the first black student to graduate from Central High. Later he said, 'I knew that I had accomplished what I had come there for. I had cracked the wall.' That wall was the wall of segregation, the wall that kept black people and white people apart." All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this book. It was very hard to read, but it teaches us about our history. And more importantly, this book is very important to read during Black History Month. All right, everyone, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.